Welcome to the Retro Workbench. Last weekend, I took a road trip to Wall Township, New Jersey to attend Vintage Computer Festival East, one of the largest gatherings of retro computing enthusiasts in the country. VCF East has tons of events for anyone interested in vintage computers, including coding classes, talks from people involved in the retro computing community, a consignment area where people can buy and sell all kinds of vintage tech, and of course the main attraction, the exhibits. This year's VCF was bigger than ever, with 5 exhibit spaces and a much bigger consignment space than last year. This was my second time at VCF East, but my first as a video creator. The first day of VCF East consisted of talks and classes. This year's classes were on coding for the Tandy color computer. Since I don't have one of those, I stuck to the talks. The Vintage Computer Federation uploads the talks to YouTube, so I'll link them when they become available. The talks I attended were fascinating. Teresa Nakra, a professor of music and technology at Stevens Institute of Technology, presented a whole new way of looking at music composition by using code to construct songs. Lior Zolman talked about his experience creating VDS-C, a version of the C programming language for the Intel 8080 and Zilog Z80 CPUs. Dan Laskowski showed off Fast Fingers, a program that turns the Commodore 64 into a synthesizer. I took a break from the talks to have lunch and walk around a little. VCF East is held at InfoAge Science and History Museums, a former radio transmission site used by the Navy during World War I and by the Army during World War II. It's now home to several small museums, mostly focused on military technology and history. It's definitely worth checking out if you're into that and you happen to be in the area. But I was more interested in the 2 non-military museums. The Radio Technology Museum features all kinds of communication technology, not just radio, but television and telephone equipment as well. They also have a hands-on section where you can try some of this technology yourself. They even had a theremin set up. I tried playing it, and well, I'm not going to be the next Carolina Ike. The Vintage Computer Federation also has a computer museum at InfoAge, and it's a fully hands-on museum where you can use all kinds of computers from the past, from common computers like old PCs and Macs, to unique ones like the Xerox Alto, the Apple Lisa, and the B-Box. So even if you don't come to InfoAge during VCF East, you can still get a taste of computing history. After I explored InfoAge, it was time to get back to the talks. Ethan Dix talked about generating sound on the Commodore PET, a computer with no built-in sound capabilities. Scott Marshall talked about his time as a developer at Imagineering and Absolute Entertainment, making games such as Bart vs. the Space Mutants and Ghoul School. Alastair Hewitt demonstrated the Novasaur, a computer he designed using TTL chips instead of a CPU. After the talks were done, I dropped off some items to sell at consignment, then headed to my hotel to get some rest. The second day was the biggest day. I started out where most people start at VCF East, consignment. This year, consignment was in a much bigger building than last year, and it's a good thing because this building was totally filled with all kinds of vintage tech, computers, monitors, peripherals, audio equipment, you name it. I picked up a few items. This Zenith Data Systems laptop, which has a bad screen and hard drive. This Fujitsu Lifebook, which works perfectly but could use some upgrades. And this AlphaSmart Pro word processor. I'll be doing videos on all of these. I then headed inside for the main event, the exhibits. There were more exhibits this year than ever before, such as an artist using a plotter to draw his artwork. Brand new cases for vintage Apple computers. Old graphics computers from the Weather Channel and Preview Channel. A massive display of portable mini-disc players. And of course, every type of personal computer you've ever heard of, and some you probably haven't. I managed to get interviews with a few of the exhibitors. So what's your name and what do you do?
My name is Bart, and I'm the CEO of the Home Computer Museum from the Netherlands.
Okay, now tell me, what exactly is the Home Computer Museum?
Well, the Home Computer Museum is an actual museum. We're open 5 days a week, and we show the history of a computer that can be used at home, which is fully interactive. That means we have between 300 and 350 computers working. If you visit the Home Computer Museum, you can actually sit behind the desk and play with the computer as it was back in the day.
Okay, and now where exactly is that located?
It's in the Netherlands, in a city called Helmond, which is close to Eindhoven. Easy accessible by plane even. You can fly to Eindhoven or by train. We have a 7-minute walk from the train station in Helmond.
Okay, and tell me about the computers you've brought with you.
Yeah, I thought since it's Amiga 40, so I brought an XE Sorcerer, which is a US-based computer, but it wasn't really successful in the US. But it was really successful in the Netherlands because of the TV course called Microprocessors 2. It was aired in 1979, and people could buy a computer with it, which was the XE Sorcerer. So there were many computers sold for this TV course. Actually itself went bankrupt in 1980 in the US, but they were still manufactured in the Netherlands until 1983. In 1983 the company decided to create their own system, which is called the Computadata Tulip System 1. And the computer brand name Tulip started. So they renamed their company to Tulip Computers and became the fourth largest computer manufacturer in Europe during the following years. And in 1997 they took over the company Escom from Germany, and Escom did 2 years before that took over Commodore. So what happened is Tulip took over Escom because they went bankrupt, and with that they also took over the brand name Commodore. So Commodore became a Dutch company.
Wow.
And Tulip existed until 2009 before it went bankrupt eventually, but the Commodore brand was sold off and it still exists today as a Dutch company.
Oh wow, interesting.
That's the history of why this is here and why I connected it with the Commodore.
Okay, that's really cool. What do you have over here?
So, and then we have the Commodore Amiga CD32, which is a game console which the last Amiga ever released. It was really famous, kind of famous in Europe. It was sold in Europe mainly. In the US it never sold because of licensing problems, I think they had. But yeah, in Europe these are just available, and it's the last Amiga. It's essentially an Amiga 1200 with a CD drive.
Okay. All right, cool.
And fully working, so nice.
And then what? You have one last one over here.
And the last computer we brought today is a weird Commodore PC-1. It's a German-built computer from 1987. It's an IBM PC compatible computer. Now there's nothing fancy about that. We tried to do the IBM PC compatible market with Commodore. However, this case is made to look like the Commodore 128. That's the case design, it's 128. There's no expansion slots in it whatsoever. There's nothing inside you can expand on. There's no IE interface, nothing. You have to have expansion interface below it, so you can add something like that. But we don't have it. However, there's one fun thing about it. This accessories. As you can see here, this is a regular Amiga mouse. And yes, you can connect an Amiga mouse to this computer. And below this one, behind the slope buffers, take the slope buffer here. This is an Amiga floppy drive. You can also connect it straight to the Commodore PC1 and it will work.
Wow, that's really cool.
This is a weird combination of IBM PC with Amiga hardware. It's kind of cool. It's a very standard IBM PC, very boring.
Hey there. Hey, so what's your name and what do you do?
I'm Sean from Action Retro, and I do weird computers. I like to tinker with things, and I like to build personal contraptions like this.
Okay.
It's a fairly modern Mac inside of a clear shell with a CRT that's meant for cash register.
Okay, that's really cool.
Well, thank you very much.
And what do we have here?
So this is the Music Mouse, which is software by Rory Spiegel. It's intended to do like live performance with your Macintosh. Ideally, you would have MIDI equipment attached to it. I don't have that, so I've just run it directly through a guitar pedal into an amp, just for fun. I think it sounds kind of cool though.
Okay. Now, how did you get into retro computers?
Funny you should ask. I've always liked old computers, but I was finding videos by a YouTuber called Dan Wood, who's here and is actually talking in half an hour. Very excited for it. Yeah, so Dan Wood got his Amiga 1200 online, and I thought I could like maybe get my Mac Plus online. And 5 years later, all of this stuff.
Awesome. And what made you want to start making videos?
Watching that Dan Wood video, I thought, it was very interesting that he was sharing all this knowledge and like teaching people, and I just wanted to try my hand at it basically.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So, what's your name and what are you showing?
My name is Stephanie Allaire, A-L-L-A-I-R-E. I'm the creator of the, F256K and Phoenix products, new retro computers.
Okay. And what exactly is that?
Well, these are machines designed for people to rekindle with the pleasure of creating new software, dealing with new hardware. Like it's like a sandbox where people can rediscover the pleasure of starting from scratch and learning and doing game programming, graphics, and sound.
Okay. And what inspired you to create this?
Well, the story started like in 2018 when David Murray, the Epic guy, said, "Hey, can somebody design me my dream computer?" And that's how it started. A few months later, I met with David, and we had like common ideology about some differences as well, and we both went our separate ways.
Okay.
And then at that point, I was like already kind of in so much that I kept going and started doing my own thing.
Okay.
I created a bunch of products along the way.
Okay. Now I see a few different things here. What are the different products we're seeing?
These are the latest generation. It's probably the latest, the last machine I'll design. So this is the middle ground, if you will. This is the most versatile machine. There's an FPGA. The FPGA inside is like the FPGA in the Amiga 65, and so it's very big and it's very potentially great to do a lot of different things. So it's very versatile and very a lot of possibilities with that machine. So if somebody buys this, then they won't have to buy anything for the future. All right. So it's full of stuff. Then you have the junior here, which is the low end entry level, where you can still change the core, but it's you have to replace everything. You have to reprogram everything every time. So it's like about $250, as opposed as the K2, where you have 4 different cores that you just change the dip switch and it's just automatically load. Like a 6809 system or 68,000 system or 6502 system type of thing. So you don't have to reprogram everything. You just have to change the good switch. And finally, there's this one, which is a Mini ITX Form Factor 68 LC060 system. Same thing. It's a sandbox type architecture like Europe. There's a hardware setup and everything. There's a lot of memory. There's a lot of resources. And there's a basic OS coming with it. Later there will be an OS 9 system for it or even COS. But ultimately you can put anything you want. And it's designed mainly for people who want to create their own Windows system. Like GUIs and graphical and Windows, everything. So it's really like people have a thing to do that. So it's mainly to create languages. So not so much for games, but everything else. Utilities and everything. As opposed to the K2, which is more game-oriented and everything. Although you do have the same kind of sound and graphic capability. Finally, this board is great because there's the PCI Express slot on it that will allow you to put old graphic cards or sound cards or storage cards, whatever you want. And then there's a lot more memory, so there's more, but eventually a lot of things we can do with it. So that's it. So these are the three final Gen 2 products, which I intend to do a long time support for them.
Okay, and then where can people find this?
Well, you know, you go on the website, you have the cards here with the website, which is www.c256phoenix.com, and yeah, you place an order and it's 4 to 6 weeks for the K2. The Junior, it's going to take more or less about the same time, but depends on the number of orders. This one is still in development, so it's going to like 2 months out before shipping. But somebody can place an order too.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Cool.
Since I was focused on consignment and the exhibits, I didn't have time to attend most of the talks, but there was one talk in particular that I just had to see. Brian Kernighan is an absolute legend and one of the most important people in the history of computing. He is a co-author of the textbook, The C Programming Language, and creator of the awk and ample programming languages. He gave a presentation on his time at Bell Labs and the history of the Unix operating system, created by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie, who he worked closely with. It was fascinating to learn about the creation of operating system features we take for granted today, like the hierarchical file system and piping, directly from someone who was there at the time. I'll link the full talk as soon as it's uploaded. After day 2 of the festival, I decided to have even more retro fun by going to Silverball Retro Arcade in Asbury Park. This place is amazing. It has tons of pinball machines from the 1950s all the way up to today, as well as electromechanical games, and of course, classic video games. On Sunday, I had a long drive home, but I still had to pick up my unsold items from consignment, so I went to the festival one last time. I had time for one more talk. This one was by Dean Notarnicola and Justin Hopkins, and was about starting and maintaining a computer collection. They gave tips on how to find the best deals on computers, how to store them, and even what to do if you have to get rid of your collection. I had a great time at VCF East, and I'm looking forward to going back next year. I'm sure it'll be even bigger and better. Well, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, why not go ahead and subscribe? Have you been to VCF East or any other festivals like it? What was your favorite thing there? Let me know in the comments. I'll be going back to regular videos after this, and I've got lots of projects coming up. So if you want to see previews of my projects, follow me on your social media platform of choice. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me again on the Retro Workbench.